Alright guys, welcome back to Golden League 2, Round 3. So we've got DivineDFP playing as Abbasid once again. This time on Dry Arabia, successful in the first game in Abbasid versus Mongols against GiveUA. So GiveUA, his opponent today. Game 2 of this best of 3, opting for HRE this time. Got a new map and a new civ for GiveUA. DFP backing up with another Abbasid pick. So I believe for round 3, rather than the players normally having to not replay a civ that they've already won with in the series, instead, oh, what's this? Okay, that switches between the amount gathering and the rate. Okay, that's a cool little feature. Never noticed that. Anyway, getting back to where I was talking about. Our players, rather than normally having to swap civs once they've won as a particular civ and not field it for the rest of the series, I believe that there was already civ bans for each map that basically ruled out the best civs for that map. So our players are having to pick the strongest of the weaker half of the civ roster for a particular map, rather than being restricted on what civs they've already won with in the series. So GiveUA, Holy Roman Empire pick. So that prelate can get a bit of an arm workout there as he's empowering all those villagers. And DFP, I wonder if he'd be opting to go for something very similar, and actually sort of underrated that new H2 technology out of the House of Wisdom for Abbasid, because it actually makes the town centers cheaper along with the houses and the drop-off buildings. So it's a pretty hefty saving for the town centers. As long as you can squeeze in that third one, I think it's worth it. I'll have to see if DFP is able to get to 3 town center Abbasid like he was able to last game, even through all of GiveUA's harass. So I wonder if GiveUA this time is instead going to go for something a little bit more reliant on a timing rather than so much just getting across the map and pressuring for as hard and as long as you can from the get-go. You know, say as a style that really fits Mongols or English as such. You know, playing HRE now, it's probably going to be a bit more of a timing attack built around getting to age 3 and, you know, locking up all the relics and then going for a huge number of knights, or even going for the Burgrave Palace and going for a lot of infantry as quickly as you can. So I think we'll see GiveUA again probably be the aggressor, but this time played a little bit differently to how last game panned out. DFP on Abbasid. Abbasid is a very flexible civ, but at the same time, that flexibility sort of does rely on them eventually either playing from or playing into a town center advantage. What is flexible is the fact that they can sort of delay it a little bit, field some initial units, and defend through it, get the second town center, do the same again, get the third town center, or even just beeline quick 3 TC if they're really able to, but depending on the matchup, they might not be able to. And depending on the matchup, they might not want to go all the way up to 3 town center and give their opponent a quick castle off 1 TC. Because particularly as a civ like HRE with Burgrave Man-at-Arms or something of that nature, it can be very hard to try and hold off heavy armor units while you're still stuck in age 2, trying to get to age 3 yourself. And saying that, HRE and English do always have that ability to even do that from age 2 with, you know, Man-at-Arms access, or French and Rus can sort of do it as well with their access to the early knights. It looks like GiveUA is actually going to go for 2 TC himself. Let's get it over here on this hunt. Bearing in mind that eco for the Holy Roman Empire is quite solid. You might just want to get 1 prelate over here just to empower these guys. But everything near the Sergeant Chapel will be empowered, and there's no real other gathering points here for GiveUA at the moment. Where's his food gatherers? I was in the stables there now. Oh, here with it. He's got food gatherers here. So they're all within arching range anyway. So really it's probably just getting one prelate over here for those guys around the town centre. Oh yeah, our Abbasid player has taken... What's that tech actually called? Doesn't pop up on there. Anyway, he's got that replacement to fresh food stuff. I've forgotten the name already. So he's squeezing out these town centres, and they're going to be a lot cheaper for an Abbasid player. Rather than 400 wood, 350 stone, it's 300 wood, 262 stone. So I think DFP will be able to just go for a quick 3 town centre here before military, considering GiveUA is really only just going to be pumping out single horseman production for the moment. So he's just adding more villages. He's not worrying about adding a prelate up there. Can't actually afford it. He's getting some more gold over here. They might be able to squeeze that in while he goes to age 3 as well. There's a bit of scouting going on here for GiveUA because he's looking to mount the first real aggression of the game. But the thing is, DFP is already going to be up to 3 town centres. So it's really just affording the villager production through all this. So I think he should be okay. Though with GiveUA having the horseman over here already, the town centre is going to have to go right next to the gold mine for the moment. And DFP is going to have to try and secure this hunt pretty quickly here. GiveUA just trying to chip away at the villages outside of town centre range where possible. Just trying to deal what economic damage he can. Just bearing in mind every time DFP's got to reshuffle these guys, that is a slight delay to his food economy. But he's got plenty of safe sheep here as well, still. So a pair of barracks has been thrown down here. A lot of villages to commit to just one structure though, like 5 villages, and it's really only going to get built about 2.5 times as fast as the lone villager on the other barracks. But even still, just getting it out that bit quicker is going to mean that there's already that spearman production on the way. There'll be double spear production, but bearing in mind, oh, we got Regnant's Cathedral, so this is quite a boomy opening really for the HRE player. I mean, you probably could just go Burgrave here and make it really difficult for DFP to do anything, because he'd have access to so many heavy infantry so quickly. But in saying that, it's not the long-term play. So instead, GiveUA is going to try and pinch the safest relics for DFP that he can. Oh, this will be interesting. DFP's going to try and wall this off, and he's actually going to start a spear production. But I think GiveUA might be safe in pinching this relic off his opponent, so while it's not going to give him the go forward of the Burgrave, the Regnant's Cathedral is going to mean that his gold gen is really going to make up for the fact that he's down on a town centre to the Abbasid player at the moment. So DFP is starting to really slowly creep up in terms of the vill count, because he'd be producing at 3-2. GiveUA able to steal that relic, and it looks like the rest of the relics are going to be quite easy for GiveUA to get a hold of, I think. These two quite neutral, this one behind him. He's adding more prelates as well. But having gone double barracks, DFP really quite safe until GUA is able to commit to more military. It looks like it's going to go pretty quickly to late game, I think. The players seem to be playing this quite defensively. There's already a military wing here for DFP. He's really walling himself in as well. Spears just denying a bit of scouting there. Once again, DFP, I think, is probably slightly more uncomfortable in terms of the actual wood layouts, but swallowing up's really going to mean that he's really quite safe on what's there already. GUA trying to actually take one sacred while this other sacred site... Oh no, he's going for that one as well. He's going to grab this relic over here. So it's a huge gold income here for our HRE player, and actually GUA is really creeping up in terms of score faster than DFP is at the moment. This is rough for DFP. He's possibly going to lose this villager here, but bearing in mind having 3 town centers, the villager loss isn't as consequential as it would be for his opponent. Those horsemen going to get taken out. So that's a little bit sloppy for GUA. He probably could have just pulled them straight out of there. And that would have been great, taking 2 villagers for nothing, but losing with 2 horsemen. And again, DFP. The villager count, individual villagers dying, not such a big deal for him. DFP really evening up the score now. His H3's kicked in. So even though GUA's got the sacred sites and every relic on the map, time being, things are pretty level at the moment. The outpost here. There's that relic garrison, so 4 relics there for GUA, and does he have another one heading home somewhere? It's a +1. He's also got 2 sacreds, so 3 sacred sites now. But DFP, cool, calm and collected for the moment. In a very defensive game, very laid back, macro up sort of game so far. So GUA is going to try and find a weak point, a chink in the armor. Because if you can really keep applying the pressure here, it'll be hard for DFP to actually come out of his shell and try and break this win con. In saying that, 9 minutes is a long time in a game, considering it's only gone on for 13 as well. So DFP's got plenty of time to try and muster up the army to at least repel one of the sacred sites. He doesn't necessarily have to deny all 3 at once, just one. And he can reset that timer at least. But now man-at-arms coming in. These guys are quite hard to deal with. It's really only going to be crossbows that can deal with them, I think, for the Abbasid player for the time being. But DFP has plenty of those. Infantry movement speed upgrade for the HRE coming in, so be quite nice. It's an exclusive tech for them. DFP is really just slowly creeping forward with these walls, securing what he can. Spear's going to get picked off here, but there's more reinforcements, so there's even some villagers coming in to help. GiveUAnxiety trying to pressure over here at the other side of the base too. while the army for DFP is just cleaning up over here. It really takes a small number of these man-at-arms to have your opponent send across quite a big force to clean them up, unless he wants to just send basically just unassisted crossbowmen. And the problem with that is, if you do that once or twice, your opponent's just going to respond with sending horsemen in to back up the man-at-arms next time. Ooh, and nice mangonel shot there to give you anxiety, but DFP, a lot of troops here. Oh, those crossbowmen focusing on the tower instead of the infantry here is not great for DFP, especially considering they're all stacked up there, and that front line for DFP has really been picked off. But in saying that, the sacred site has been reset. So DFP up by 18 villages, and now no longer with his back against the wall until GiveUA at least retakes the sacred site. A couple of prelates there. Gonna want to bring one of these back over this side, I think. In terms of the upgrades, looks like DFP has got both damage upgrades and melee armor. Well, GiveUA really just has ranged armor for the moment. No other upgrades for his military. Unit counts slightly favouring GiveUA right now, but he's going to want to be very careful that the Springalds don't just snipe the mangonels here. He's already lost one of them, but the other one's still okay for the time being. Does get cleaned up ultimately there, so DFP defend himself, but GiveUA still has that military unit advantage. This is very safe play from DivineDFP. Look at this walling, like there's multiple layers to both sides of his walls, except for this central piece here, which is obviously where he's probably most comfortable defending. So he's really minimised the amount of actual travel he's got to do to defend himself, and he's making this quite hard for GiveUA to actually break into, whilst also holding on to the sacred sites. There is a tower on each of these, so it's going to be quite handy, but they're not completely upgraded. Oh, this one's got a... all its upgrades. This one doesn't, though. He could be saving to get a bombard on there, but don't know if that's really going to end up being worth it. Looks like DFP is setting up to try and dismantle the base around this outpost. 2 layers of walls is going to be really useful for DFP here. A lot of horsemen there for GiveUA. There's a lot of spears in tow to clean this up. DFP slightly overextending there. At the same time, it's able to ward off the cavalry. And now GiveUA is the one that's sort of left the safety of the tower and his siege to try and take this fight. So DFP was trailing on military going into this, and he still is. This isn't looking good for him. He's lost a lot of his front line, but there is still plenty of spears here to clean up the horsemen. There is still plenty of crossbows to clean up the man-at-arms, so as long as he can get behind the walls here, I think he should be okay. It's just more he's going to have to try and lick his wounds quickly enough to actually break this hold that GiveUA's got. GiveUA's doing a wonderful job pushing here. But he's going to want to try and prevent the keep from going up here if he wants to keep this momentum going. He's got prelates in the army healing as well. Not sure if he's actually got... oh yeah, he does actually have the empowerment to increase military damage and armor. So keeping those pellets there quite useful. Counterweight tread there as well for DFP. At the same time, he's just having to do what he can to hold off. Looks like he's gotten through the bulk of GiveUA's army though, because the military count's now tipping in favour of DFP. So DFP ahead in score for the moment, but he's got 7 minutes to try and break one of these sacred sites. So a pair of trebs will be able to take out the tower. Well, so they'll be able to outrange the mangonels. I don't think they... do they outrange the springalds? Yes, they do outrange the springles as well, though they don't, you know, the springles technically counter them, but at least they outrange them. On top of that, great range to take down this outpost. So I think DFP might be able to take the sacred. A lot of horsemen in tow though to clean up the trebs, and they're not cheap. So 750 resource siege units, bearing in mind the mangonels not cheap either. Springle's a little bit cheaper, 500 resources apiece. It looks like GiveUA's got the siege advantage here, but simultaneously his actual military count has been decimated, so it's going well for DFP at the moment, provided he doesn't take too many mangonel shots. And oh, that one actually focused on what was probably the most split up crossbowman in that little ball there. Yeah, it does look like GiveUA's force is starting to thin out a little bit here. He's done well to try and deny that gold from DFP. GiveUA trying to pressure over on this top side, but DFP's basically stripped it in terms of all the resources other than this gold mine here. Oh, and this could be good for DFP if he can get this keep finished up in time, and I think he will. There's not really any defenders around to repel this. So he's going to snatch both of these resource nodes off GiveUA. Because yeah, completely unupgraded towers. Not really a deterrent beyond preventing the buildings going down right where they were. GiveUA can possibly tower over this side and start picking off some of the villagers and really restrict the amount of gatherers that DFP's got here at the one time. Looks like GiveUA's really given up that stone, but there's not really any stone left there. It's a huge army for DFP, and GiveUA's base is a little bit more open than his opponent's for the moment. Hasn't got a complete wall off. So pressure's really DFP's way at the moment, I think, and that's a great crossbow count to cut through all those man-at-arms. There's spears there as well to prevent a big horseman count from being super effective. Yeah, it does look like that stone probably not really even worth the effort for DFP, because he got on it when it was 110 left, but this gold mine he's going to be able to strip that clean, and that'll really be worthwhile for him. GiveUA once again struggling with the military count to his opponent. There's not a huge amount of front line here for... oh, there's the spears. Only takes a couple of good mangonel shots to really turn the fight back in GiveUA's favour, but in saying that, DFP, these keeps now out in the middle of the map, it's going to be very difficult for GiveUA to actually get any of these resources himself. GiveUA's quite safe here at the top. There's plenty of this gold that he can go for. This keep gonna cost GiveUA some villages. DFP's doing what he can to focus as many of them down as possible, prevent this from going up, but I think, yeah, GiveUA is going to be able to finish the keep for now. Military counts are definitely favouring DivineDFP. GiveUA still has a slight eco advantage here, both in villages and the fact that he's got the 5 relics and 2 sacreds. DFP having taken the sacred. DFP's losing some villages over here on the bottom side. I'm not sure if he realises just how many that GiveUA's been able to pick off over here. Saying that, applying really good pressure here. That keep the emergency repairs being used, but at the same time, there's enough siege damage from the trebs that it's eventually going to go down. Villages being whittled down here. So DFP, I don't think he realizes just how many villages he was dropping there. Like he's only got like 10 left now, but he had like 25 over there. So I think that's really impacted him a little bit more than he thought. At the same time, now he's going to be able to clean it up. Possibly deny GiveUA this gold mine. GiveUAnxiety is really going to have to try and gather from over at this top side of the map now. In fact, all the structures here are really going to be cut off. GiveUA was intending to have that as his market line to this trading post. But now, looks like he's going to have to possibly put it all the way up here, or even have it maybe over here, until he can break these towers. For the time being, there is still gold on the map, so our players don't necessarily have to beeline the market caravan economy just yet, or trader economy I should say. Ram actually. Bit of crappy paving for the ram there. GiveUA mustered up a bit more of a force now, but he's still trailing behind DFP in terms of the army count. Still up in terms of the eco count. A lot of siege for GiveUA as well, so it's going to put these crossbows under a lot of threat, because plenty of mangonels and plenty of springles to back them up and try and take out the trebuchets. Saying that they've been providing some good support. They do outrange just about everything that GiveUA has here, so as expensive as the trebs have been, they're getting DFP plenty of value. He's just going to want to be careful he doesn't lose them, because again, they're about the most expensive siege unit on the field at the moment. The players gathering wood side by side over here. Peace treaty between the villages. Well, over here, there certainly isn't a peace treaty. GiveUA seems to be closing that military count now. Well, both our players are adding villages behind all this. But I'm not sure if fighting under the keep is going to allow for this to keep happening, because right now DFP's got a lot of this idle and he still seems to be slowly winning this fight here. And again, that military gap now starting to favour DFP quite bigly once again. DFP just trying to gather as much as he can over here. I mean, ultimately our players will run out of resources to safely gather here. DFP maxed out. GiveUA struggling to max out. An aggressive keep. Another one here from DFP, while GiveUA committing a lot of villages to try and force up a defensive keep of his own. So it's starting to get a bit now or never. If he loses all this area, that's a lot of production buildings going down. It's his good, safe market line, longer distance market line going down as well. Keep finishes up a lot quicker for GiveUA, but at the same time, DFP is going to finish a second keep up, and his hasn't been taking damage the whole time it's been constructed. Villages being used to take out as many of these much rebs as possible, but a lot of these villages are going to go down. So DFP is now about 40 villages up. 50 villages up, actually. So this is huge. GiveUA really struggle from here to get back into the game, I think, because it's now trailing by 50 vills, now trailing by 35 army population. And there's a lot of keeps here on the map for DFP. This massive farming eco here for GiveUA is being slowed down as well. Arch and Chapel. Obviously the ideal spot to have all your villagers gathering food off the farms, because otherwise you've got to strategically place prelates in amongst them, and even then it's not as efficient because the prelates have to stop and empower. DFP hitting his 4th age now, so it's going to be really scary for GiveUA. Our players still gathering together over here. Age 4 ram use? What is this? Bush Week? It's a bit of a break and play here. I don't know if GiveUA can really afford to keep going on at this point. He's down by about 45 villages. I think he's largely just relying on that passive gold income at this point. Trying to replace some of his farmers here, but he's got some idlers there, and he'll probably bring them up over here if he wants, but he's looking to just add more farms through all this. More production being taken out here, so this is great for DFP, not so great for GiveUA. Man, that map icon is getting annoying. I know it's just the keep attacking it, but I keep checking it. Culverin's now on the map for DFP. He's actually had to build these out of a workshop, like his trebuchets. They should be able to make quick work of most of GiveUA's structures and his siege, even a lot of his individual units. So he's trying to use his mangonels as best he can without overextending them. But I don't know if he'll be able to keep going here, because Ram's still pushing in. If he gets that cathedral, it could be a massive blow to GiveUA's income here. Culverin's going to make really quick work of those Rams. GiveUA really struggling to get that army size he needs to turn this around at this point. GG. DFP takes the series 2-0. with an Abbasid victory in both games.